And instead of worrying about what the future was going to hold in the worst possible ways, I started thinking about the best things that could possibly happen and how that was going to feel and what that would bring. And, law of attraction, what you focus on expands. And that's how we manifest. We look at the future in ways of excitement, of loving where we're at, because gratitude is such a space to be in, and loving where we're at right now with eager anticipation for the future of what could be, and being open to seeing where it could go, because sometimes we tunnel vision, we get ourselves set on a certain way something is supposed to look like or how the outcome is supposed to be. But when we open ourselves in faith and trust and really see the possibilities instead of the limitations, that's where anything is possible.
Hey, Jenny, I'm so grateful that you are here and that we have met. You are one of the founders of Soulful Camp. You are an entrepreneur, and you're somebody that I met recently at a
Mhm.
networking event and just loved hanging out with you. So, just knowing you briefly made me realize, like, I just want to have a conversation with you on the
Yeah,
podcast.
thank
Let's
you
talk
so
about,
much.
yeah, let's talk about entrepreneurship, talk about what you've got going on. I feel like you're
Wow.
involved in a really amazing community. So maybe could you tell us a little bit about Soulful Camp and who you are?
Oh, well, I mean, it's been a long journey to get to Soulful Camp. I've been an entrepreneur for 26 years now, and couldn't see my life any other way. But Soulful Camp is really my passion. It is my purpose. I know it's what I'm here to do. We actually just had one this past weekend. Got home last night. So, it's about empowering women to become the best version of themselves, to find out who they are, to discover what lights them up and makes them happy. I believe that everybody's put here on this earth for a purpose and a reason. And, that reason is to find love and joy and be who you're meant to be and be authentically you. And our camps, our events, our conferences, they're all designed to help women to tap into that and to really honor themselves and let go of the crap that doesn't serve them anymore.
Yeah, I personally have found like incredibly transformational experiences
Mhm.
by attending workshops, retreats, and things with other women in
Yeah.
that kind of container. I think setting that intention and
Mhm.
doing that is incredible. Tell me a little bit more about how you guys run Soulful Camp, how it started, and
Mm.
what you're doing exactly.
Yeah, well, so my business partner Heather Del Rosario and I, we met through a mutual friend about 8 years ago, and she was doing retreats at her place in Halliburton, and I was partnering and doing some retreats at bed and breakfast and things locally, and then we met, and something just clicked, and we both said that we wanted to do something on a bigger level than just small one-to-one. I used to do one-to-one coaching, but I realized that I really wanted to get to one to many. And the small retreats were great, and we wanted more. And so we started collaborating. And in 2018, we had our first camp. We had about 22 women there, and it was amazing. And fast forward to 2024, we just finished our 24th camp in this seventh season, and it's really exciting because a lot of the women that have come to our camps have started out from the beginning with us, some of them, and to see their growth and continued investment in their time and energy in themselves, to see their progression and their successes and struggles and triumphs over the years is really, that's why we do what we do. It's that ripple effect that goes out, and it's really fills our cup to see so many women taking care of themselves and having fun and getting back in community, because women need community. Women need community, and especially in the last few years, I think we've lost a lot of that. So it's nice to have that back again.
Yeah. What would you say are the most common themes you're finding among the women who are attending? Like, we all have that need for community, but
Mhm.
what else do you find is bringing women out to the camps?
A lot of them are. they're rediscovering who they are. It's, most of them are women in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They've given all their lives to everybody else. They're the mom, they're the caregiver, they're the employee, they're the, all these roles that we play as women. You get to a certain point, I'm over 50, and, you get to that certain point in your life and you're like, who am I? What do I want? What do I like? What do I need? Because we're so busy doing it and giving it to everybody else. And so a lot of women are coming to rediscover who they are, and and to remove a lot of the labels, and the stereotypes and the negative programming that we've had over the years. Because in order to live your best life, you have to do the work. You have to dig in and get messy sometimes. Heather and I lead what we call soul sessions, and that's where we dig in and do a lot of the work that needs to be done. We always have Kleenex out. We always tell the ladies, if we haven't made you cry, you haven't really made it to camp. But the reality is, we have to do the work, and so we get women to be introspective and to check in with themselves and ask themselves the questions that maybe they don't ask themselves at home on a regular basis. Like, am I really happy? What fuels my soul? And we do a series of different workshops and activities that get to tap them into who they are. And then we do group breakout workout discussion sessions and things so that they're able to communicate. And we always start our camps in circle and talk about how, when we sit in circle as women in community, we can look across the circle and see within ourselves. When we look across there's no ending and no beginning in a circle. And when we look across the circle, namaste, what I see in you, you see in me. And it's the power of understanding when women can come together and be vulnerable and authentic. They can hear, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person that is struggling with this, or, hey, I had this amazing success and nobody in my life celebrated it for me. Well, we'll be there to celebrate it with you. And it's become such an incredible community. I feel so blessed to do what I love and love what I do. It's definitely been part of my journey as an entrepreneur is to be in flow. And I went through a lot of things in my adulthood, just as many women do. And you know I struggled a lot with my mental health, from major depression and anxiety. And I know now that all of those things that I've gone through in my life have led me to Soulful Camp, because I couldn't share with the women vulnerably and authentically about my struggles if I hadn't gone through them. And I look at those things now, of all these hardships and things that have come along my way, and they've made me stronger and they've made me who I am today. And it's showing women at camp. Actually, when on the weekend, one of the ladies said, she says, I'm stronger than I think. Because when you hear other women talking, and seeing like, okay, I'm doing better than I think I am. And, women, we struggle with a lot of that, right?
I feel that. And that's been my experience with
Mm-hmm.
gathering in circle as well. I find it to be very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And part of my entrepreneurial journey, I used to do that. I used to facilitate those types of healing
Mm-hmm.
workshops and circles and do the one-on-one work as well. And then I
Yeah.
kind of stepped into this place of being like, now I want to help those spiritual leaders
Yes.
do that work, because I realized I had acquired all the skills and my purpose, like I was being guided towards doing this work
Mm-hmm.
as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I very much connect with everything that you're saying, and I
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that you have this mission of empowering women and
Yeah,
helping to heal the world, because we really need it right now.
we
And
do.
that's another reason why I'm doing this work, is because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we're going through a collective awakening and a collective shift, and all of us right now are coming back online being like, wait a minute, I am not doing the right thing. I am completely unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
This life is not serving me. This
Yeah.
lifestyle is not serving me. And people are starting to wake up and realize, like, I actually have a purpose. I have meaningful work I need to be doing, and
Yeah.
I need to do it now. But also
Yes.
I need to pay my bills bills and support myself. And,
Yep.
so that's a real thing too. And that's a
Yeah,
real obstacle to overcome. So tell me,
absolutely.
you said 26 years you've been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How did that begin? And of course, it's a roller coaster. So
Yes. We know that one. Yeah.
so what keeps you going? What stopped you from, going out handing out resumes and
Oh,
giving up on entreprepreneurship in those hard moments? Because I've been there.
oh
I've
yeah, and
gone and
there's been
handed
many of
out the
those
resumes.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. Trust me. Well, honestly, it started, I went to, I never, I'll be honest with you, I never wanted a career, so to speak. I always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to work with kids, but I wanted to be a mom. That was always, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to be with my children. And that's how I grew up. And that's how I wanted my children to grow up. And at the time, when I had when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was an early childhood educator. So I was a preschool teacher in Toronto, and I was a daycare supervisor, and was doing all this. But I was like, I can't go back to work at a daycare. And ECEs don't make much money 30 years ago. They still don't make any money now. But it was either I'd go and put my child in daycare, or I stay home and start my own daycare. So Jenny's Little People Daycare started in January of 1999, and it's crazy to think that, but I wanted to be home with my kids, and I ran that for several years through different houses, but I kept persisting with that. And when my kids were in school full time, I knew I didn't want to stay home with kids anymore. And I'd gotten that entrepreneurial bug. I loved making up my marketing materials. I used to do newsletters for my families. I did all the things that I did as a teacher in my classrooms, and I did in my home daycare. And I thought, how can I still be at home and have the freedom and flexibility that I desire? And for me, entrepreneurship is all about time freedom, and flexibility is what has kept me in it for all these years, because I've been able to make my business work around my life instead of my life around my business. And that's always been really important to me. And, I was always a neat freak and organizing freak. So I started business as a professional organizer, did that for many years, and started getting into networking and learning about the power of networking and community and business, because I've been alone in my own business for so long. And when I started learning about that, then I started getting involved in the networking community in Durham region. And I've been running networking events and women's masterminds since 2008, I think, and got into that, again, community. And, we all need that to help us grow. And especially small business owners and entrepreneurs, it can be really lonely. And especially nowadays with social media, everybody's, oh, my business is great and all this is wonderful. But the reality is, like, as you said, it's a roller coaster as an entrepreneur. And, you have to be ready for that when you're in this space, right? And it's had its challenges, absolutely. But when you know your purpose, and you stick with it, and you have faith, and really trust and lean into your gut and your intuition. And I'm very much into universal energy and vibrations. And, when you talked about it's a time for us to be healing the planet, it's a new consciousness, and it's a beautiful time to be in. There's a lot of crazy stuff going in the world, but I think that we are those light workers that are here to help. Ooh, I'm getting all the goosies, to help raise the vibration of the planet, to help spread more love and kindness. And, I've seen some of your work before, and, of society and media and big pharma and companies that are trying to make us feel not enough. And no wonder. I mean, earlier you asked me what one of the themes for the women that come there, what they're searching for. Most of them feel like they're not enough. Period. Not good enough, smart enough, tall enough, thin enough, whatever it is, it's not enough. And a lot of that has been programmed into us. And, our soulful camps, our soulful conferences, our retreats, they're all about deprogramming those things and helping you tune into the essence and truth of who you are, instead of what the world has told you should be.
I love that. I love that. Because that really is making a difference in this
Mm-hmm.
world right now. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
really have collectively been gaslit to think
Yep.
that we're not enough. And it was smart. I see the
Mm-hmm.
tactics, I see the psychology behind it. It was
Yep.
very smart. A lot of people got rich from it. But now we're like, hey, especially mothers,
Yeah.
that really changed things for me too when I
Yeah.
became a mom. that was my motivation. If I'm going all in on entrepreneurship, like I have to, there's no other option. I'm not letting someone else raise my kids. I'm doing it. And I do my business while I'm raising my kids full
Yeah.
time. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think I put my kids in daycare to be an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur. And I'm like, no, I'm an entrepreneur because of my kids. I want to raise my kids. So
Yeah.
is that hectic? Hell yeah. Like I work crazy hours. Like I'll get up at
Mm-hmm.
5 a.m. sometimes, work on things, but that's okay. I enjoy it. I
Yeah.
genuinely love it. One, like a
Mm-hmm.
bad day as an entrepreneur is better than like a day at an office.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we
Absolutely.
really, yeah, but I love what you're saying about the not enoughness too, because
Mm-hmm.
it's so true. And I think that that's something that people are realizing, and it's motivating a lot of people to pursue entrepreneurship, because we were sold this idea that we
Mm-hmm.
had to go to the school, get the marriage,
Yep.
have the babies, have the
Yep.
career. And women now, like, we are so confused. And I think as
Mm-hmm.
mothers too, we're so handing off our children to go to daycare. And I've done it. I did it
Mm-hmm.
in between maternity leaves before entrepreneurship. It's hard because you feel this awful feeling in your gut where
Mm-hmm.
you're like, this feels wrong to me. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be spending 8 hours away from my baby. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel right. But then at the same time, society and everyone's telling you, this is great, you get to have a career, you're so lucky,
Yeah.
like this is awesome, your child will be fine, this is
Mm-hmm.
normal, it's normal. But none of that felt normal
Yeah.
to me. It
Yeah.
didn't. It went against my instincts. And
Well,
that's
and
where I think that collectively we're being called to different, to not
yes.
normal. Normal is
Yes.
not okay anymore.
Yes. Well, and to honor and know who you are and what you need. Because I know some women and some of my friends have said there's no way in hell I could have stayed home with my kids. Like I could not do that. That was not my
That's
purpose.
true. It's really hard.
Right?
Yeah,
And you
it's
know,
really
it's
hard.
hard, right? But that's it. We're not all meant to have the same vision and mission and purpose. We're not all meant to like the same things, right? So, you know, that time freedom, you know, I have a 2 year old grandson, and I'm with him 1 full day, if not 2 days a week. And that is the freedom and flexibility that I still have. You know, my children are 24 and 26, and they're, you know, long gone out of the house. But I'm grandma, and and my girls and I are close still. And I feel that that's important because I have been around and been part of their lives. And not to say if I had worked outside of the house, it would have been different. But I really cultivated a close relationship with my daughters. We've had challenges because if you've ever had teenage girls,
Yeah,
they
it's
can be
coming. It's
fun.
coming
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
It's coming
Just
my
wait.
way.
Yeah, you wait. You know, it's knowing your why, and understanding what drives you, and what fuels your soul. You know, and that's everything I do is about that. You know, of all the years in my entrepreneurial journey, it was helping women to, you know, through organizing, it was to declutter their house, because you know what, messy space messy mind, you know. And as somebody who's really struggled over the years with my mental health, especially as an entrepreneur, um, you know, I've realized that the more we can talk about these things, that, you know, and I'm so glad now mental health is more on the forefront and people talk about it. But you know, 26 years ago, when I was a mom at home having postpartum depression, but nobody knew, talked about that then, you know, that was a big trigger that started a lot of things in my life. And when you're an entrepreneur, you know, as a mom, you know, your brain is always thinking about your kids. I saw a meme this morning. It was like the mom going to bed, all the things in her head, you know, did I pack this, did I get this, do I have this? And the husband was beside her, and he says, do you think I could touch your boob right now? And I'm like, it's so true. Like the difference in at least in my experience of that. But then when you add entrepreneurship on it, you know, we never get a time off. Your brain does not shut down. You don't get to go to work 9 to 5 and tune it all off, right?
Yeah, speaking of, I've got a daughter who just ran in the door. Hi, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly. You got to stay down because she also doesn't have clothes on, so I'm not going to pick her up right now. This is the kind of day we're having at our house.
Yeah.
So this is the reality of it, and this is why I'm doing the work that I do. Okay, I'm gonna bring you to your daddy, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'll be right back. This is why I don't do live shows.
Yes.
This is why it's pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
have the power to edit. So now that we kind of have an idea of why you chose entrepreneurship, could you maybe tell us a little bit more about kind of the obstacles that you've had to overcome to stay true to your why and the lessons you've learned?
That's a deep
I know.
one.
That
Oh.
is, right? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think, there's been a lot of lessons that have come along. I think the biggest one is really honoring what you know is true for you, and knowing what success looks like to you. I think that that's a big one. You know, for me myself, success was not about the money or the numbers. Success was having the freedom and the flexibility. Success was being home in the day. Success was, it wasn't about the money. And that was hard for a lot of people, especially my husband, because he's like, Jenny, you're doing all this awesome stuff, right? But, I've always known that what I needed to do was also, honor myself. And, with my own, like I said, my mental health challenges, I realized that I can't be everything for everyone and do things the way other entrepreneurs do it or business professionals. I had to stop comparing myself to others, and really just start looking at what that success looked like for me, and recognize how far I've come on my journey. And, I think as entrepreneurs, we're really hard on ourselves, thinking that we have to have it all figured out. And we wear so many hats and have so many roles that it can become really overwhelming. And I think that that's something, I really encourage people to, is to find those supportive people that will call you out on your stuff. And, if you need a little kick in the butt, they'll do that, but they'll also be your biggest fans. And, when you go networking and you're meeting people at events, there's so many people that just go out there and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I do this by my SHIT. And, I can't stand that, because, it's about relationships. It's about understanding people and knowing each other. And that's, I think, why I've been able to stay in my, I call myself a multi-passionate entrepreneur, because I've had several businesses over the years, but they've always evolved into, helping, supporting women. But it's always had that same purpose and passion behind it. And I think that, having those people to help you is really key on your journey. And the support, and finding those authentic relationships that are more than just about your business, because there's so many people that do the same thing as you, but how you stand out is who you are. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I swear a lot, so I'm being very careful today. But
It's okay.
and
This is safe.
but like the reality is I used to hide. I used to not be my authentic self. And, that wasn't serving anybody that I was trying to help. And it certainly wasn't serving me. And, I've learned that I need to balance my own personal care with work time. I have family time, and it's not there's no balance. It's flow. And that's a big thing for me. Sometimes I work a lot more. Sometimes I take more time off. Sometimes I'm busy, crazy. Sometimes I'm a little bit more relaxed and chill. And that's, I think, one of the adjustments. I've never worked in corporate. I know so many entrepreneurs that have had corporate jobs, and they're like, I had to get out of it. And I think that, going from, say, if you went from a corporate or a business, a job before that, now and new to entrepreneurship, it might be a challenge to manage your time, or to get out there and put yourself out there and talk to other people. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the better you get at it.
I agree. And I think that the hardest part that I've learned going from corporate to full time entrepreneurship is adopting the discipline. So,
Mm-hmm.
my goal is like, I've got to do something small every day, like some
Mm-hmm.
sort of needle
Yeah.
mover, check something off my list every day as an entrepreneur. That's my goal. And I do that in a very balanced way when I'm in the space for it. But what I noticed that's really challenging about entrepreneurship is versus the corporate world is you're not getting that immediate payoff right
Mm-hmm.
away. So
Mm-hmm.
I have spent countless hours, doing research
Yeah.
or building systems, putting things in place, like designing
Mhm.
my own website, designing my own campaigns, strategies, all of these things that you don't get paid for that stuff up
Nope.
front. If I were logging hours at my corporate job, I would be making a good wage. But the thing
Yeah.
is, as an entrepreneur, it's about having that discipline, but also having that belief in
Yes.
yourself, like trusting, like, I'm doing this, I'm not getting paid right for it right now. However, I know that this is
Mhm.
going to pay off.
Yeah.
I know that what I'm doing is in
Yeah.
alignment. So you really have to tap into that and trust.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
trust. But the
Yeah.
payoff does come.
It does.
It can come a
Mhm.
month from then, or it could come a year from then. But if
Yeah.
you trust,
Yeah.
it's
And
there.
and if you keep persisting, it's important to, like you said, you don't get that instant gratification. You're not going to get a paycheck at the end of the week, and you have to be okay with that, And sometimes it's years in building up. This is our seventh season of camp, and it's really just starting to get going. And we've expanded beyond camp because of that. We saw that the need was there, but if we had tried to do too many things before, it wouldn't have worked either. So it's trusting in the timing. That's something I've had to really lean into, and trust that everything happens in the right time at the right moment, and that everything is happening for me. And seeing our setbacks and seeing our challenges is okay. Well, what did I learn from it? Because we could fall down from when things hit us in the ass, or we can stand back up and say, okay, what did I get from that? What can I shift and change for next? It's never a failure. I have a sign in front of my computer here. It's failure's not falling down. It's not getting up again. And oh my
Mm.
gosh, I've failed so many times over the years as a business owner. Holy cow. But I've also succeeded a lot. And again, it's learning to know what that success looks like for you, and where your satisfaction is. And are you filling your own cup as you're doing it? Because if you're just working and working and working to some end goal, but you're not enjoying the journey on the way, what's the point? The journey is the point. And that's, the entrepreneurial journey is like this. It's got all the ups and
Yeah.
downs, but I wouldn't
I
trade it for the
had this
world.
conversation with my husband the other night. I have these really deep thoughts at the worst times, like when I'm laying in bed and it's way too late. And I'll sometimes like kind of poke my husband to see if he's awake. So I'm like, I need to get this out. And the other night I did it, and I was just like, the future doesn't exist. Like, I just had this moment of the future is not real. It's this
Mhm.
thing we're always chasing, but we never actually live in the future. We only get to live in the present moment.
Yeah.
And that is scary because, we're not always enjoying the present moment, and we're so focused on things will be better when, things will be better
Hmm.
when, and we're checking all these things off our list. But if we can't find that satisfaction
Yeah.
in present moment awareness, then we're not ever going to feel
Yeah.
like we've won.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And you know what? That's, I talk about a lot about this at our camps and at my workshops and stuff is, the present is the only thing that we have. It's the only thing that we have. And when you struggle with, in entrepreneurship, and anybody, when you struggle with mental health, depression is when you're thinking in the past, you're stuck in the past of what coulda, shoulda, woulda, and regrets and all of the things, and you beat yourself up for it. And I lived in that for a long time, a lot of shame, a lot of blame, a lot of guilt, for different things in as being an entrepreneur, even, and how that affected my kids and how that affected my marriage. And there are so many things, and that could be like my hours of conversation. But so depression keeps us in the past, and it keeps you stuck in what coulda, shoulda, when. And anxiety is when you're stuck in the future, but with the worst possible outcome in mind. And,
Mm-hmm.
I flipped and flopped between the shaming, blaming, guilt in the worst place of mind and depression, to the fear of the worst that could happen in the future. And when I started doing mindset work and training and going to coaching and counseling and reading and conferences and retreats and doing all these things to start shifting my mind, I was able to stay in the present and start learning about compassion and self compassion, instead of guilt and shame about the past, I started having love and self-compassion for myself and staying in that present moment. And instead of worrying about what the future was going to hold in the worst possible ways, I started thinking about the best things that could possibly happen and how that was going to feel and what that would bring. And, law of attraction, what you focus on expands. And that's how we manifest. We look at the future in ways of excitement, of loving where we're at, because gratitude is such a space to be in, and loving where we're at right now with eager anticipation for the future of what could be, and being open to seeing where it could go. Because sometimes we tunnel vision, we get ourselves set on a certain way something is supposed to look like or how the outcome is supposed to be. But when we open ourselves in faith and trust and really see the possibilities instead of the limitations, that's where anything is possible.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that frequency thing. Like
Mhm.
that's a big lesson I've learned in the past few years is just how we attract what we are, not what
Mhm.
we want. And
Yes,
when we're
yes,
sitting there desperately hoping, wishing, wanting for things, it doesn't get us
yeah,
anywhere. But
yeah.
when we, like you just said, tap into that place of gratitude
Hmm.
and alter our frequency and what we're emitting out there, and we believe everything is already here for us right now,
Yes,
then we really do start to just like
yeah,
sink in faster
yeah,
to the people show up,
yeah.
and the opportunities present
Hmm.
themselves once we're there.
Well, you become a magnet, right? You
Mhm.
become a magnet, and we're magnets anyways. Law of attraction, we're magnets. So you're receiving whatever you are, which and whatever you are is whatever you're thinking about. So if you're believing that you're not worthy of something, or you can't have something, or that life is hard and you have to work hard to do something, you are going to be magnetized and be able to see opportunities where that's true. But
Mhm.
when you stay in the space of gratitude and appreciation of, I'm so thankful I get to get up in the morning. I love doing laundry, because I have clean clothes to wear for the day. It's those simple little tiny moments of gratitude that start us seeing other opportunities and things to be grateful for. And guess what? More opportunities and more things start showing up on your radar, and life gets a little better. And don't we all want to feel better and have that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit more about the business side of things too.
Sure.
So I love hearing other people's strategies of how have you been able to grow? What do you guys find to be the most effective marketing tool for selling your events, getting people to come out and scaling?
Quite honestly, our biggest is our word of mouth. It is,
Yeah.
it's word of mouth. Social media and marketing is not our strength, and it's something we're working on. But it's definitely word of mouth. Women need to experience our events and camp to be able to fully appreciate what it is and what it brings. At least it feels that way to us. And once they come, they say, "This is nothing like what I thought it was going to be. This is so much more." And I was nervous coming because I thought everybody'd be like the mean girls and cliques when they were in high school and not getting chosen. And the biggest feedback we got from women is that this is the most beautiful, supportive community. Like, they've never seen it. They don't understand. They've never been around, been lucky enough, or fortunate enough to have those women in their lives. And I feel very blessed. I've had a lot of amazing women mentors, friends, girlfriends, but not everybody has that. And when they come to camp, they see that difference. So word of mouth is for sure our biggest marketing. It's how people get it out there. We have a really good email marketing email list, and we like to send out a lot of information about our camps, but also ways to help women empower themselves, and little tools and tricks to get them to start thinking of themselves and what they want and their desires in maybe a different way that they haven't thought of before.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. Well, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about these events?
They can definitely check us out at Soulful, and full with two L's, camp.ca. We are going to be rebranding shortly to Soulful Events, because we are
Oh,
more than just Soulful Camp. With our conferences, our adventures abroad, and our day retreats we have coming up in 2025 and beyond. We're excited for this next phase and growth in our journey, but soulfulcamp.ca, and Instagram and Facebook, you can find us at Soulful Camp.
amazing. Thank you. And I want to ask you one final parting question. What
Okay.
is a lesson that you are learning in life right now as a human lesson?
Mm. I would say to be a little, and I teach it all the time, and you teach what you need to remember and learn, is to have a little even more self-compassion for myself. I sometimes forget about, I get caught up in the busyness of the work part of my business, that I forget it sometimes a little bit about the impact that it's having. And I need to remind myself of that a little bit more. This past weekend we had camp, and so many women, the hugs, and just knowing that I'm making that impact, and that ripple effect is just incredible. And yeah, I feel really, really, really blessed.
Oh, thank you. I'm just so grateful that we met. I can't
Me
wait to
too.
come to your next event. I'm so excited to
Excited.
tap into your community, feel the love, give the love, be the
Yes.
love.
Yes.
It's amazing. So thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank
I'm really
you.
excited. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.